President Akufo-Addo has sacked his Energy Minister Boakye Jakon over a power purchase deal, which critics say makes no sense. The head of communications at the presidency, Eugene Ahin, confirmed the dismissal in an interview with JoyNews shortly after he had released a statement communicating the president's decision. According to him, the dismissal of Boakye Jakon had everything to do with a controversial renegotiated Ameri deal. He quoted the president as saying the decision to sack Jakon was in the best interests of the country as well as the administration. He said Mr. Jakon has accepted the president's decision to fire him. On the renegotiated Ameri deal, which was brought to Parliament with an executive approval, Eugene Ahin said the government has taken a decision to withdraw it. A deputy director of fisheries has revealed that President Akufo-Addo has directed the Fisheries Commission and other agencies to ensure that illegal fishing activities are halted across Ghana's coast. Speaking to Martha Krentol-Akwa on the sidelines of a forum on what next after the postponement of the closed fishing season with the leadership of fisherfolk from the 4 coastal regions, numerous Penyer said the president agrees the time given the fishermen to prepare for the implementation of the closed season was inadequate, hence the decision to postpone it to next year.
The president is a listening president. This from the National Council of Canoe Fishermen secretary. He did indicate they wrote a letter to the president on Thursday, and he had to convene a cabinet meeting on Friday and had to take the decision on Friday. This is came as a surprise to a lot of us, though, but this shows that he was really listening to the cry of the fishermen. There had been agitation since the minister announced the closed season, but we had also engaged them a lot extensively in education to let them understand that that is one of the major strategies to rebuild a fishery stock that is at the verge of collapse. But of course, due to the cries from the fisher folks, the president had to take the decision to at least suspend because they indicated that we had not engaged them sufficiently, so that we can have some time to engage them and to now implement it come next year.
So I was having a conversation with one of the fishermen, one of your representatives here, and what he told me is that he is actually crushed and disappointed that we are not implementing the closed season this year because the picture we painted to them was very gloomy, that the situation is very terrible. If we don't do this, we are going to lose so much. And all of a sudden we called it off. He's in doubt as to whether what we told him was actually the case, that the fishery stock had depleted so terribly.
Yeah, there's no point to be in doubt, and it is good that he was present here. The presentations that we made, we showed the point that we came from 140,000 metric tons to 20,000 metric tons after 20 years. That is quite serious. And if for 20 years you could come down from 140,000 to 20,000, it means that in the next 3-4 years, if nothing is done, you can really crash. But that is why this is a suspension.
Meanwhile, the Canoe Fishermen Council, which petitioned the president to postpone the closed fishing season, says it has begun intensive education to ensure that all fishermen stay away from illegal fishing activities. According to its national president, Nana Jojo Solomon, they will ruthlessly deal with any of their members who fall foul of the directive.
The Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council has now taken it upon itself to engage our chief fishermen, engage our fishers, let them know that with every privilege there is a responsibility. The president has listened to us. We're so grateful, we're so thankful. But then the biggest task is the infractions that we are committing as fishermen. We're going to talk to them, warn them, and then give them up to the security agencies, because one of our main issues and problems was that should the close season have gone ahead, you understand? And with all these infractions, how are we going to even evaluate the effects of the close season? It was an issue, and nobody could convince us, because all these years these infractions have been done in the open, and there's no strong commitment from the regulators, from the enforcement agencies, that they could stop it. So they can tell us that within 1 month, coming back, with the open season, it won't come back with these infractions, you understand? So we are also going to augment the effort of the enforcement agencies, the Marine Police, the Navy, the Fisheries Enforcement Unit, the Monitoring, Control and Surveillance Unit of the Fisheries. And then I believe that we will get somewhere, because we are going to sanction our chief fishermen, sanction the landing beaches. We are going to use a very heavy hand, because we have gone to fight for this relief. Then we also deem it as a responsibility to ensure that our fishermen would not disappoint.
You may by now know that the structure of senior high school education is changing from the next academic year. And with barely a month to the implementation of the double-track system, officials of the Ghana Education Service have started meeting school administrators to help them draw a timetable for the smooth implementation of the program and simultaneously help government reduce pressure on the schools. And as Canoe was at the Best Western Plus Hotel here in Accra, where teachers from Greater Accra and Eastern regions gathered for the exercise.
About 80 to 100 staff of the Ghana Education Service are gathered here at the Western Premier Hotel to meet with officials of the GES to help them draft their respective timetables for the double-track system that will be rolled out in September this year. Now, the staff include teachers and, most importantly, assistant headmasters in charge of academics, and they are from the Eastern and Greater Accra regions. Now, mind you, not all schools in the two regions are here, because like government indicated, not all schools will be implementing the double-track system. Now, when I entered a while ago, they were gathered in groups, and they had some technical people going around to assist them draft the timetable. They are considering, first of all, the population of the school, and then the class sizes, taking into consideration the school's resources. Now, it is after this engagement that a report will be sent to the Education Ministry, first of all to the GES, for government to know what the deficit is, and then to make the necessary allocations to the schools in terms of teachers that will be needed, plus other resources that will be needed to implement smoothly the double-track system. From the Best Western Plus Hotel at Nungwa, my name is Canoe for JoyNews.
Well, let's move on. The workers of the National Identification Authority, they are threatening to embark on a sit-down strike for non-payment of salaries. The workers say despite persistent appeals to management to pay their 3-month outstanding salaries, they were yet to make a headway. The workers also indicate they will stop work if they did not receive their salaries by Friday. F.Y. Evans Chinri has more.
The aggrieved workers are threatening not to work from Friday, August 10th, 2018, if the National Identification Authority fails to pay their 3-month salary due them. Some of the workers allege they borrow monies to enable them come to work daily.
We at the NI are very furious as of now. We are agitated, in fact, at Prof's comments to us. How could he say on radio that he has no idea that he has not paid us for 3 months, when he promised he will be paying us every month?
All what we seek now is for them to tell us when are they going to pay us and what are the terms of the payment. We pick our own money, we come here with our own pocket money. Sometimes we don't even get water to drink, we buy it for ourselves.
We got messages that those who didn't fill in the right details should come back. We went there, still we've not heard anything. and we keep borrowing from our friends to come to job. If people know you're working all right and you're not getting your salaries, it's difficult.
Meanwhile, Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority, Professor Kenneth says the allegations made by the workers are false.
There is not a single person at the National Identification Authority who is a permanent staff who has not been paid for 3 months, not for 2 months, not for 1 month. Every single person who is a permanent staff has been fully paid for the last month worked.
He, however, admitted that some of the workers working on the contract basis had not been paid because of some procedures they had to introduce in the payment system.
Reasons why there have been delays in the processing of the payments due to those who have legitimately signed a contract and have so selflessly served this nation over the last 2 months and a bit more, beginning approximately the 23rd of May. They have worked hard, and a Libra deserves his or her wage, and they will get their wage. The funds availability is not the issue. The issue is that there is a contractual relationship that must first be entered into between NIA and the workers. To this date, only 80% of the 650 or so workers have actually signed and submitted their appointment letters. Some of them are in the field working and yet have not signed the contract, and yet they expect to be paid.
Well, before we go, the Food and Drugs Authority is currently collaborating with the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, that's a GPRTU, to clamp down on activities of drug peddlers and sellers in commercial vehicles. This forms part of efforts to flush out unapproved drugs from the market and lorry stations. Joshua Kobnat Smith has been following the trend and has filed this report.
John Addo sells medicines here at the 37th station in Accra. Unlike many of his counterparts who deal in mainly herbal preparations, John sells orthodox medicines. Today, a duema and an ointment.
I have been in this business for the last 3 years.
The sale of drugs in commercial vehicles in Ghana contravenes the Public Health Act 2012, which says sale of unapproved drugs in unapproved places is a violation of Section 118 of Act 851. John has been plying his trade on buses and bus terminals.
I moved from Medina, La Paz, 37, and also Ashaiman to sell my drugs.
John believes the law must exempt what he does because he does not sell unapproved or expired drugs.
We take into consideration the expiry dates of the drugs before we purchase them. Our drugs are purchased from certified pharmacies and shops in the country before they are sold. My colleagues and I always do away with the expired ones. We are yet to meet one.
But Nana Owusu, a passenger, says it's all a nuisance.
If you are learned and somebody brought something you don't know, you make sure those people, they will come to the car, they will convince you for you to buy the product. But they don't know when you use it, the implication that one I can't tell you. That's only you that you are going to experience it.
To deal with the situation, James Latte is head of communications at the FDA.
In the first place, sale of medicines in buses is illegal. Let me establish that. It's illegal. When you look at the Pharmacy Act, we want to sell medicines. Medicines can be sold only in pharmacy shops, licensed chemical shops, pharmacy shops, licensed chemical shops, hospitals, clinics, maternity homes, and all other registered health facilities. That's where you can sell medicine. Selling medicines in buses is actually illegal. Now, the FDA has done a lot of work when it comes to this. We have done exercises with the police at different stations. We have arrested people. We have had meetings with GPRTU on this. If you can remember, recently, I think barely about 3 months ago, GPRTU issued a statement indicating that they banned the sale of medicines in buses. They came out with that statement quite recently, So, well, a lot has been done about that.
Many of the drug sellers have fake stamps of the FDA and the Standards Authority on their packages. Director of Corporate Communications at the Ghana Standards Authority, Dr. Kofi Amponsa Bediako, says consumers must watch out.
If they show you any symbol or emblem showing that it comes from FDA or Ghana Standards Authority, it's a forgery, it's fake, and therefore they are not correct. The drugs approved are meant for pharmacy shops and drugstores.
John journeys on, yelling and selling. The FDA must protect the consumer, but he believes he's doing more than that. Joshua Smith reports for JoyNews.
And that's it for the latest news updates. We're going to review the newspapers. We know what is topical this morning. It has been for the last 12 hours, I should say. Mama Viosa Boaje Kojo Yankson will be here. We'll be looking at those stories, front, back pages of the newspapers. We'll look at the center spreads, possibly go to myjoyonline.com before we take a wrap for sports. It's all right here on the show. Stay on. We'll be right back.